the moments of inspiration and problem solving don't happen in the meeting. They happen before the meeting or right after the meeting. They're like, hey, you know what? Can I bug you for 2 minutes? That happens 60 seconds after everyone has dispersed. And that's like the power of agreeing to be somewhere together, because you can do that.
Welcome to the DesignRush podcast. I'm your host, Kia Johnson. Today's guest is Erik Braund, founder and CEO of Katmai Tech, a company redefining what it means to be together in a digital workplace. With a background in audiovisual production for global brands like the New York Times, Morgan Stanley, Amazon, and Audible, Erik brings a unique blend of creativity and technical precision to the future of work. His mission? To reintroduce presence, spontaneity, and human connection into remote work, not with avatars or headsets, but through immersive browser-based environments that feel natural and alive. In episode 94, Erik shares why your calendar is bricked, whether you're at home or in the office, how Katmai turns next week's 30-minute meeting into today's 5-minute conversation, and why building culture virtually isn't just possible, it is essential. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watch on YouTube. Got a story? Email us at spotlight@designrush.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more conversations with leaders shaping the future of business. Hi, Erik. Welcome to the DesignRush podcast. It's wonderful having you here with us today. As a founder scaling a category-defining company, what would you say is your best advice for choosing the right agency or external partner to support your growth?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. And I'm going to be really honest with you. We're doing a lot of it internally right now, and we're slowly starting to do things externally. And I don't have a good answer for you, Kia. I can tell you why, though. There's a perfectly good reason. So my previous career before Katmai was audio video production. And so I was essentially an agency that would get hired to make video content for large multinational companies, right? Whether it was web or internal, external, TV, anything under the sun for a large company, a product announcement, company announcement, campaigns, all sorts of things. And Katmai is incredibly visual. It is really hard to describe what Katmai is on paper. It's hard to describe what it is in conversation. It's next to impossible to describe without just using it. And then once you use it, you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, you're right, Erik. This is really hard to describe what it is. And so from day one, I knew we were going to have a couple of folks internally to effectively be our own production company to visually tell the story. And so just purely from a product marketing standpoint, we've done it early internally to capture what it is and tell the story visually. And candidly, we really haven't used any external partners yet as far as how are we getting the word out about Katmai.
Mm-hmm. But then, in essence, what you're doing is also just your own sort of internal strategy and perhaps the right strategy for this specific, venture.
Yeah. So our strategy has been no one knows it better than us. And so we're going to, rather than try and explain it to someone and have them tell the story on day one, we think we're the experts at this stage. And then I'd say for anyone listening to this, hey, you think you got a better idea? We are all ears.
I love that. Nice and bold and ballsy. Loving it. So now, Erik, the virtual office market is actually projected to grow from like $55 billion in 2023 to over $160 billion by 2030. So I would love to find out from you, like from your perspective at Katmai, what's driving that growth, would you say? And then do most companies actually understand what a virtual office should be?
It's funny. The first definition of a virtual office is a PO box at a physical place. It's a place to get mail. That is for the last 15 years, that's been the definition of, if you Google virtual office, it's literally concierge mail services. And then it kind of went one step further where like a company like WeWork kind of was like, oh, we could do that and some flexible office space. But virtual office meant like, I need to get mail somewhere that's not my home or my apartment, right? And so there's this interesting kind of shift to the concept of a virtual office or virtual headquarters. And there's a handful of startups out there addressing the same problem, right? And I love that because we're all addressing it a slightly different way. And I think the more virtual office and virtual headquarters gets into the lexicon of the common conversations, the better for all of us. Like a rising tide floats all boats. We all have different value props, right? Some companies are like massively AI first. Like your virtual office is your AI companion and where everybody can be together and talk quickly, but like AI. And I'm actually kind of leaning a different way, which is we are focusing on people. We think the value of the virtual office is people first and face-to-face conversation first. And that goes away from this notion of endlessly scheduled meetings and over-scheduled calendars. Because like your calendar, I'm going to presume, is bricked, right? Whether you're at home or you're in an office, they're just bricked. My calendar, I have 0 internal meetings scheduled. I have meetings all the time, but my policy is I do not have a recurring meeting on my calendar internally because I don't need to, because our team goes to a place. Now it's virtual because we live all over the world and we all have home offices, but we go to a place at generally agreed upon times of the day, Monday through Friday, and we have access to each other. And that is what the virtual headquarters truly can do, is say, okay, we see a need. The need is the people have spoken. They've been given some freedom in the pandemic. They like it. They want to be able to work from home. I love working from home. I don't want to go to an office. On the other side of that, you've got the large companies that have said, back to the office. And half of that is insecurity of like, I don't know what my staff is doing. And half of that is, that's the way it was, so that's the way it should be. Just like both of those concepts, those are both totally outdated and broken. And they're like, I need to have my eyes on people all day in a physical space, to me, is a culture problem, not a productivity problem. I don't know. That becomes a leadership problem almost. And we have been trying to, we as a society have been trying to solve these two ends of the spectrum and the needs in between with what I would call outdated tools. One of those tools is the physical office where everybody commutes all day, every day. And the other one of those tools now is what I call traditional video conferencing. The Zoom, the Teams, WebEx, Meet, all those things, which are effectively what you and I are doing now. This is a meeting we scheduled a while ago. We're 2 little squares of video and there's no one else is involved in this call. And so like no one has any idea where I am or you are, whether we're in an office or at home. We're exclusive. And the virtual headquarters can bring people together in a place where it's like, oh, we all have access to each other, so we don't have to overschedule our calendars, right?
I think what I'm taking from this, because I mean the question was tapping into, you know, companies understanding what their virtual office should be. And I think one of what I've, at least in my opinion, I've picked up is that when we were in the office, you know, doing it the traditional way before everything changed, is that there was this thing of building connection. So you wouldn't necessarily find the answers to things that you were looking for when you were sitting in a strat meeting, for example, with all your colleagues, and now you're doing a brainstorm and you're like, yeah. You actually find it when you're sitting, having a cup of coffee with a colleague and just chatting at their desk going, hey, so how was the weekend? And that's actually where, from what I have found, you seem to be getting those like moments of like those the light bulb, you know, the light bulb moment, if I were to use the cliche, and then going back to your, you know, computer desk and going, oh, you know, there's this like thought that popped into my head. I think this will work great with X, Y, and Z. And so I feel it's more about this building connection, and that's to me what Katmai represents in essence. Am I right?
You've got it. You've nailed it completely. I mean, to go deep into the cliches, it's the water cooler conversation. It's the aha moment.
Yeah.
It's like, it's how do you, and what we found is with Katmai and virtual headquarters and this like very rich 3D environment that has your video and not a cartoon or avatar of you, it's like by agreeing upon we're going to be in a place, and yes, we're going to do work, and yes, there will be some meetings that have to happen, but we also just have access to each other and can bump into each other. We've learned that you can build culture remotely, which is one of the big arguments for, like, the Zoom CEO famously called back Zoom to the office at the end of the pandemic and said, you can't run a company on Zoom. There's no company culture. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? I actually completely agree with that statement, because humans all want interaction, whether we're social or antisocial. Like, we all need it on some level. And like, candidly, my pandemic was very abnormal in that I had so much interaction with so many people in such a normal way. Normal being like spontaneous, because I was in Katmai the whole time. And like, it was so fascinating. We built culture. And one of the people at Katmai asked me, he's like, hey, if we didn't have Katmai, what would happen to our company? Because we work in our own virtual office. We have since day one. And I was like, I'd go, oh, we'd instantly be a worse company. And it's so funny because we're so fluid. And like you said, it's like the moments of inspiration and problem solving don't happen in the meeting. They happen before the meeting or right after the meeting. They're like, hey, you know what? Can I bug you for 2 minutes? That happens 60 seconds after everyone has dispersed. And that's like the power of agreeing to be somewhere together, because you can do that. I just think it's really interesting.
That's actually great, because I mean, that in essence would just increase productivity if you think about it, instead of just doing the sort of like brick calendar scenario, which, you know, in essence, sometimes it's just a whole lot of like, we're talking, but are we getting anywhere with all the talking? You know, we're doing all these strats, but like, what's happening? You know, and you just, and I've like, it just feels like it takes you like 5 steps backwards as opposed to taking the company forward. Yeah.
Let's take the whole notion of like, all right, let's have a meeting about that. It's like, great. That meeting, okay, now let's find when those 5 people have time. Oh, it's Monday now, but that's not till next Tuesday. By next Tuesday, you've got 8 days of things that have happened. No one remembers what you're meeting about, and you're already behind schedule. It's like it's kind of lunacy to me, honestly. So one of our customers says it the best, because I can talk about our experience till I'm blue in the face, but now we have customers, which is a great place to be. And my favorite quote from one of these guys, he goes, Katmai turns next week's 30-minute meeting into today's 5-minute conversation. And so it's like 2 things. It's like 3 things. It's the future. It's a meeting. I'm already like, ugh. It's 30 minutes long. You have to find 30 minutes. And now it's just like, a conversation is so much better than a meeting. Now is so much better than next week, right? And 5 minutes is so much better than 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, 100%. So, I mean, have you actually worked with any well-known brands that are starting to rethink that virtual office model?
Yes, and that's a great question. We have, and the well-known brands are the ones that don't like you to talk about who they are generally. And that's buried on page 722, subsection 3 of some contract, that it's like, oh, see there, we can never talk about their name. But I'll tell you this, right now we're in contract with a company that everyone in the world has heard of, that is famously a return to office company. And that was really interesting for a number of reasons, because we've only really truly been in the marketplace since February of this year, of 2025. And we thought early adopters are like the small, technology forward, fully remote company. It's like a small company that has nice laptops that doesn't have an office anyway. They're a startup, they're scrappy, they can adopt a new tool quickly, they get it. You know, you don't think of like a company with offices in probably 10 or 80 countries in the world that has hundreds of thousands of employees as like an early adopter of a virtual office concept. Those are diametrically opposing concepts right there. But what that speaks to is our technology and our products are solving a need for both small companies and large companies, because who works at these companies? It's just people. It's people with schedules and lives and kids and jobs and commutes and all of those things. And that is the thing that's in common, is we're all just people that are trying to like find the work-life balance, the productivity, visibility balance, all of those things that like, I want to be at home, but I want to be connected to my company. So we're now seeing, actually, our earliest adopters right now are companies that are 10 to 1,000x bigger than I anticipated from at this stage, which is also like crazy, exciting, and terrifying, and all of the things, you know. So, like, oh, that 50-page security compliance review. Oh boy. Now, thankfully, we have a lot of very intelligent people at Katmai, and we've done a good job of building for these opportunities, because what is luck is when opportunity and preparedness something, or I don't know, I should know this, but we've got a lot of things happening at once, so it's pretty exciting. But we've also been working incredibly hard for a number of years under wraps, just in stealth mode, building tech and making it work well. So
it's this place of constant evolvement, and it's a great space to be in. Yeah, definitely. Now, what would you say then is actually the biggest mistake that companies make when they're trying to replicate, the office online? I'm sure there's a couple of things that you've been like, don't do that.
Actually, one's really interesting. We got the question a lot of, because we build these very rich 3D environments, and part of our patented IP is that we can deliver high quality 3D environments in a web browser with nothing to install. We built some cool technology that makes this possible, right? And so because we technically can build anything, that doesn't mean you should build anything that you can build. I'm trying to find a succinct way to say this, but we've been asked many times, like, hey, could you replicate our actual full office? We have 10 floors in Manhattan. Could you replicate it to make it look exactly like our office? It's like, we actually did do that for a company, a large company in the Midwest. And we've done this a few different times, actually a couple companies in the Midwest at this point. And what we learned was, just because we can do it, we shouldn't do it. That's not the best virtual experience, because you think about a physical building that maybe you're used to, and the elevator's here and the kitchen's here, and you take 3 lefts and 2 rights and you get to your office. All of those are constraints that are gravity and safety related. And, structure and load bearing walls and shear walls, and where do windows go, and where does the elevator shaft have to be, and egress, and all of these things. In Katmai, what we kind of learned was, we don't need walls, because walls just make weird privacy. Like, the whole point of being in Katmai is you feel connected to people, you see action, you see liveliness, you see other people in a meeting, and it kind of stimulates the fact that, like, I'm here with people and I'm not lonely at work. It's like things like that, right? So we've adopted, there's a lot of glass. It's almost like literally every office is a corner office. And it's so interesting. Like, you could never go into a physical space that looks like this. But we also make sure to ground it with familiar elements like wood floors and light fixtures and desks and tables, because it helps you feel like you're in a shared space. And the concept of shared space is really interesting. I'm diverging away from your question a little bit, but for a reason. So you think about when you have like a memory of a conversation with someone in person, like a meaningful conversation or a pivotal moment in your career or your relationship or friend, you also can close your eyes and picture where that was. You know what time of day it was. You know what the ambiance was. You could probably do the temperature if you really think about it, right? Or what was the background music? Like, place is so important to our experience in a conversation. And what Zoom and Teams and all these things have done is entirely remove the value of place. And like, we need place because it's awkward to just stare at a square of someone's head for 60 minutes. It's like, that's not natural. What's natural is having the person in the foreground, but having a background and having an environment, having ambiance, having light that changes and all these things. And so like, it's tough for us to quantify, but right now, the number one piece of positive feedback that we get about Katmai is it just feels different. It feels lighter. I remember my conversations in Katmai. I don't remember my meetings on Zoom because there's this tangible, even if it's virtual, like place. And place is the third part of a relationship and a conversation. So
it's so interesting that you're saying all of this, because what I'm seeing is now inclusivity. That's like the one thing. So you were talking about the example of some companies wanting to have like the replication of the 10 floors and et cetera, et cetera. But in essence, what you're building is like this inclusive environment. And what that would actually do is just completely block that off. The other thing that I am just loving that you're mentioning, because this is something that I think we're all going through right now, is that, yes, it's fantastic. We got to do these meetings, right? But it's very brain numbing sometimes, sitting in these meetings and you feel almost like you're just getting nowhere. And in essence, from what I'm understanding, what Katmai is doing is actually opening up your mind. So our minds need to think. We need that intelligence. We need to have like that input all the time. And we need to even if you're like the most academic person, you're like an accountant, for example, sorry, accountants, no offense.
We need
but
them.
you still need to think, right? Am I right? So
what that's doing is it's like it's stimulating the intelligence in your mind, in your brain, and that's so important. That's so important.
It's so important. And you hit on a really important word, inclusive. Like, one of our things we're doing for large companies specifically, because like the customer I was talking about, they're mostly in office, but they're still, like every other huge company that's now back in office, on video meetings all day long, because they either have external people they're talking to now and video has been normalized, or internally it's like, well, yeah, I started at the Cleveland office, but now I live in Boston, and my team lead's actually in Los Angeles now. It's like the companies are still remote, and this is like teams become globally distributed, and that makes an inclusive experience next to impossible, because short of spending $100,000 plus for an offsite to get some people together, it's like, how do we have these inclusive experiences? And before you know it, whether you intend to or not, the sheer nature of a scheduled video meeting in the future is exclusive. It's excluding whoever wasn't invited. There's no opportunity to just say, oh, you know what? John down the hall should really participate in this conversation. Don't know why I didn't think of John, but John's here. Let's go get John. Like, that is the value of the office too, is the like, I have an idea, I need 5 minutes, or you know what? We're in a conversation right now that we could save next week's meeting by adding someone to the conversation today. And that's what we're trying to unlock with Katmai, is the inclusiveness of being together, not the like exclusiveness of like, I'm just on a meeting with one person and no one else exists now.
Exactly, like that complete isolation. Yeah, definitely getting you 100%. So, I'm curious, Eric. What is something that has surprised you about how people behave in digital spaces compared to physical ones?
How they behave. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's so fun? Like, in our virtual space, it's so immersive and lifelike because we're focused on you, and we're very purposefully not adding AI enhancements to make everybody look better. We don't let you change your background. To describe what Katmai is so you can understand it, it's a 3D space where we put you on in the 3D environment on live video and audio. And so you can move through it like a video game. You're in the video game. It takes your webcam. It puts your face on a disc, and it looks like a head almost. It's not as weird as it sounds, I promise. And you're just there. And you don't need to remove your background because your face fills up the circle and there isn't your background. So it's like a really level playing field. And we've kind of found that it has become a really good equalizer of like, it's not about, ooh, your home office and your home office and your home office the same way. So somehow it's just like people are pretty well behaved. Now that's not to say you don't get the occasional person that has absolutely no decorum in a virtual environment and just decides it's okay to go zip around your entire office. So, what we do is I invite lots of people into our headquarters because it's the easiest way to show around. And there's a moment where the visitor registers, and I can always see it happen, where they realize, oh, the other 25 people that I see, those are real people that are here right now. And it at first you're like, I don't know really what's going on. And then you realize, oh, you mean I can just go talk to that person in Canada or in Alaska or in the Netherlands? Whoa. And then it's like that is the moment that I haven't figured out how to describe in words, on paper, or without just bringing you in and showing you how it works. So like any like investor demo we've ever done, it's like, no, I'm not sending you a deck. It's an incredible idea. You just have to use it or not. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But like, that's the only way you're going to get it. There's this concept of the third place. Uh-huh. And it's this sociologist, Ray Oldenburg, from the 70s. And, it's like pre-internet, right? And in the 70s, it was, you have home and you have work. Those are the two places. And the third place is, at the time, was like a park or church, basically. It was like, where's the thing that's like other between home and work? And this is what Starbucks latched onto. And Starbucks and the concept of the cafe that they brought to America was like, oh, it's the third place. Like we want to be the third place for community, for conversation, for all these things. And it dawned on me very early on, like accidentally, it was like, oh, we've made a digital third place. This is so cool. It can be social. Like our tool is very much for businesses, right? Like the Katmai virtual office is for fully remote, hybrid, and in-office teams, and it solves challenges slightly differently for each one of those categories, right? But that being said, it's still a virtual place for people to be. And even if you're at work, you're still having conversations about your personal life or shooting the shit about the weather or whatever it is, right? Like that's how relationships are made, is talking about, like we talked about earlier, talking about the things that aren't the meeting. That's how you build culture. And coincidentally, early in our kind of company's life cycle, we got introduced to someone at Starbucks. And this is not for a virtual office, but we have done consumer experiences for Starbucks because we were so in line with this third place thing. And so little did we know they were exploring kind of metaverse opportunities. I put metaverse in quotes because I don't use that word. That word was co-opted by Facebook to put a laptop on your face and make you be a frog and me be a pirate or something. And we're all of a sudden like supposed to work in a headset with cartoons of each other, which I think is insane. So anyway, setting that aside, 2023, 2024-ish, Starbucks was experimenting, I think, with digital environments. And we actually got partnered with them. And I think we did 4 or 5 or 6 different experiences for them where their user base got to go to these virtual environments that were heavily Starbucks branded. And for us, it was great because we got to prove our technology works with millions of people, right? And like scales to millions of people. We also got an interesting insight to like, oh, our technology is relevant not just for a virtual office and for teams to collaborate, but for consumers to engage with a global brand. Oh, that's interesting. So we've gamified things. And, you know, if you've never been to the Starbucks in the Empire State Building, holy cow, like it's this 3-story Starbucks Reserve. It's like insane. It's mega. It's beautiful. It's enormous. And we built the whole thing in Katmai and we served it up to a group of their consumers as an experience. And that was super fun to do. Like, so it was an interesting point and journey for our company to say, oh, we almost stumbled into the concept of the third place and the digital third place. And then we got paired up with the company who built their whole cornerstone of their, you know, value proposition of we serve delicious coffee in the third place.
Yes.
It's interesting. Place is so important.
It is so important. I mean, did you get any, like, what was the feedback like? You know, with Starbucks itself, when, you know, this was rolling out and people were saying, oh, you know, this, like, were there like a couple of things that people were kind of pointing out, a common running thread, people going, okay, this is amazing. Like, I really like this. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I learned, which I don't know what that I should be so surprised I am, but there are a lot of die-hard Starbucks fanatics all around.
They are. No, they are.
I mean, I think they have like over 30 million loyalty members in America.
Yep.
But like there are people there that are just, so what we weren't expecting, and I remember with some of these, there was like these Discord channels where people were talking about these, and people were like, oh, I'm never going to be able to go to New York City and go to this Starbucks, but it's like a bucket list item for me. And now I feel like I've been there. And that was so cool because like we transported you to this place and there was little Easter eggs. And what was equally interesting, we did one called the Spring Village, and this got marketed to their whole loyalty program and millions of people use this, and we gamified it. But what I wasn't expecting, because I would go on like Reddit or wherever I could find like, where are these public addicts for the anything Starbucks, like the brand? And people were like looking for Easter eggs, looking for clues of what was going to be launched in September with the new mugs and this. It was like so insane. So I just loved like being able to deliver something so valuable to so many people like in a new way. That was really exciting for us. And also see like, yeah, lots of people use it and communicate about it and talk about it afterwards too, which is so cool. So
I think think that's amazing. I mean, especially if you're looking at people that are in the sort of like diehard, like you said, Starbucks fans,
Yeah.
that for any change to happen or anything to be slightly different, people are always like, when it comes to change, people are like this fear, oh, it's change,
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to recreate that and give that kind of user experience, I mean, wow,
Yeah.
wow, 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 that's
And so,
amazing.
put yourself in my shoes. You're a tech startup with limited everything because you're a tech
Yeah,
startup. And
yeah.
that's limited time, focus, capital. Every decision you take a left on means you can't take a right. And like, you don't want to go too far left and too far right. You got to, where's our vision and our mission here? But what's so interesting is we built what we have called immersive video technology. What does that mean? We take all the hardware you already own, the billions of devices we all own, our phones, our laptops, our desktops, our tablets. Now we're using the camera on all of those and putting you in an immersive 3D environment with other people. The possibilities are now endless. Like shopping, you could do very in-depth immersive shopping, exploring of luxury hotels that maybe you're going to book a vacation on, super fan engagements with athletes or musicians, highly customized to their environments. Like I have been thrown every single idea about how to use our technology, and they're all candidly great ideas. So far, we're just still pretty darn focused on this virtual office concept for teams. And because it's it's a huge shift of we have a product in the market and our audience is B2B. Like we're selling to businesses. And then from there, we're segmented to like, I might be selling to a founder that has 6 employees. I might be selling to the CIO of a company with 55,000 employees. And those are very different conversations and different life cycles. And then to throw in like what I just described that we did for Starbucks for millions of consumer audience, wildly different work stream and workflow as well, and business model and all of the things. And so that's to kind of bring it all around is we have this technology that at the core, what did I say in our rapid fire? It's about connection. I think that was my word, or it is about connecting people. Our whole goal is to connect people to provide a more rich digital interaction. I would rather be with you in person. I think it would be more fun to hang out in person and have this chat across the table. But we can't because actually I don't even know where you are.
I would assume then that for your kind of service, which is, one would actually say this is quite niche, that you would probably then, customize according to each person, so or each organization. So it would be like, obviously, if it's a smaller company wanting XYZ, then you would cater for that. If it's a larger company wanting ABC, you'd obviously cater for that. I mean, have you ever found that there was a process or a time where you were like, no, where you said no to an organization because it's either that they're maybe, for whatever reason, they're, being impossible or stretching too far with things, or perhaps not listening, or have you ever had that?
I've probably had to make that decision 100 times already. And, we'll have a customer that is one person, right? And they'll submit user feedback that like, if I built any one of those things, we're going to dedicate a bare minimum of $50,000 and who knows how many development cycles to build that one thing. And we have to constantly weigh the like, all right, where are the user feedback? Where's it coming from? That's either like nice to have or must have, or like barrier to adoption, or, oh, I see they want to take our tech and use it in this like wild edge case over here. That's really cool. Does building that make sense for anything else right now today? And what we've tried to be really thoughtful and methodical about is basically, I view this as one day when Katmai is complete, we are a platform that enables lots of things to happen, and much more of it is driven by the user, and the user is able to do more for themselves, right? And so we're still in this journey of a lot of things we have to do, and then we can give it to the user to do a little bit by themselves. And we actually just released our first DIY customization feature where you can sign up and now you can add your own logos to the office, and like you can put your own imagery up. Now, we used to have to do that, and now you can do it. And eventually it'll be, you can change your own 3D things in there, and you can add modules, and you want to have an event, here's the event module. So we're working on platformizing this more and more and more. Right now, it's still very much a product. built on a technology. I think one day we see it more as a platform where more things can happen on it. But yes, to your point, the needs, not only are the needs of the large company and the small company often different in these kind of edge ways, the geographical needs are very different as well. We've learned. So we have companies in America, we have companies in Europe, and the way that Americans view privacy is like, privacy, what privacy? I mean, without getting too far into it or political about it, that's generally the like, you are the product person, your habits are the product, and like I think that's all yucky. And in Europe, it's like privacy, no matter what, privacy is paramount. Data policies are, it's like the opposite, equal and opposite of those in America that you see. So the things you agree to as a consumer in America are wildly different than what you would agree to in Europe. In Europe, it's much more about, hey, your data is your own, right? And in America, it's like, hey, your data belongs to Facebook. that's pretty much what we deal with here. And so that's been really interesting, because an early place we've had success was in Scandinavia. And it was like, oh, we had to bifurcate some of our practices and some of our ways of thinking to be like, oh, this subset of users wants total privacy. This subset of users wants more information. so that's been like an unexpected, but like, interesting just difference to see around the world.
Can you share a product decision that you made at Katmai that intentionally moved away from traditional office design? We were speaking earlier about the one client wanting XYZ with those like the 10 floors. But in terms of just like generally speaking, a product decision that you were like, oh, I think we need to move away from that. Because that's just not,
I think the most simple one was we used to, like, when you load into a Katmai environment, you load in by like what we call an elevator bank, and there's like a 3-second walk down a hallway where you walk into the office, and it's kind of this like, you kind of enjoy it. You just press the up arrow and you like walk in and see who's around and find an office and park yourself, or go straight to a conversation. But what we learned was, for our customers, the first time they invited someone else into Katmai, whether it was a potential sales call or a vendor or a colleague, whatever it was, they were finding they had to do a lot of explanation and say like, hey, welcome to our virtual office. To move around, you press up. And like, usually it created kind of a fun, lively conversation. And we actually have an anecdote from a customer that they say they made $1 million off a sales deal because the bond they formed when they had that first demo, right? But what we learned was like, yeah, we love it, but sometimes we just need to have meetings, and we don't have time to explain to someone what a virtual HQ is, how to move around in a 3D environment, all these things. So we made a really intentional shortcut to like just having a meeting. And we rolled that out in February, and it's something called Link to Me. And so if I invited you into our headquarters, I would send you just my URL. I'd put that in the meeting invite, Google Calendar, paste in Erik's link. You click it, you load up in your browser, you put your name in so you don't have to install anything. And I let you in. So it's like a lobby system, just like any other thing. And what happens is, whatever room I'm in our virtual office, an office, a pod, a conference room, whatever, it puts you right across the table from me. And so it just loads you directly into a meeting with me. So you don't have to learn how to use Katmai to have a meeting. You will undoubtedly be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, who are those other people? Can they hear me? Can they see? It's like all the questions will happen. But we circumvented the need to explain how to use a virtual headquarters. And now that happens organically, and you can just get to your meeting. That has been like a massive game changer for us in terms of reducing friction. That was a really important one for us.
So let's just unpack Katmai a little bit more. I mean, what would you say actually, like the signals or the behaviors that you look for to know that people actually feel present in the virtual space that you've created?
Yep, great. It's a great thing. So the signals are, we have like we have a trial, right? You can try Katmai with no financial commitment, and we want you to, because we've learned that once you find the way it works for you, it becomes very sticky. And that's the way it works for you, is very culture dependent and company dependent, because we have some companies that use it Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Everybody's there. Other companies that use it twice a week for like 4-hour blocks, where it's like their Katmai blocks where they want to be together for unscheduled time. It's like agreed upon co-presence, if you will. But I look for if you've signed up and you've got your team there, and your kind of frequency is one thing, but I know that you're comfortable using Katmai once you've started to invite external people in. And there's like a metric, and it's all anonymized and stuff, but it's like, oh, this trial company is inviting in guests. That to me is like a really important indicator of they're comfortable, they think it's interesting, and they're like showing it to someone else. And I love that because we don't need credit for this being cool. We know it's cool. I want
Yes.
you to sign up, brand your office, and say, look at this thing I've got. That's what I want. So.
I'm loving that. I'm loving that. How would you say then that you balance familiarity in UX with the need to introduce entirely new modes of interaction, for example?
Oh, that one's gone through a lot of iterations too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would think.
Yes. So that link to me was like a really important part of like, let's just give someone the meeting they're expecting, like the ease of use to get to a meeting that they're expecting to have a video meeting. And because what we were doing before is like we were beating you over the head with, you're in a shared space. Here's how to use it. Here's how to go talk to the other people. Here's how to share your screen. And it's like, before you know it, 5 minutes has gone by with like a tutorial, whether it was automatic or from another person. And you're like, well, now I'm just in another busy, what the hell? I thought you were supposed to save me time in meetings. Now you're costing me time, right? and so that's for kind of the external, we just need to have a meeting. And then for internal, the process of learning it actually becomes a culture building thing of like, you're inevitably going to have someone that is just a gamer, and you're going to have someone that is totally afraid of being a gamer. And so we had to figure out, okay, we need to make it work for everybody. So you can make it work with your gamer controls on your keyboard. You can also make it work like you're just, if you've ever used like Google Street Views type technology, where it's like, I'm going to double click down the road and move. You can kind of use it that way. We've given you multiple ways to navigate. And we're trying to make it so like, if you really just don't ever want to navigate, you can still be here also. So that's been part of the journey is it's not hard to use, but demystifying that it could be hard to use if it's presented the wrong way.
I just wanted to say that this that you just mentioned, what it appears to me is it's like actually Katmai then supporting the various elements of like identity, body language, and spatial positioning, which is exactly what you spoke to right now, which I think is amazing. Do you have any like parting words for us right now? Any advice for any startup organizations out there, or perhaps anyone that would like to utilize Katmai itself? What would you like to say to that?
I love what you just said about like body language, because we are firm believers in our tech helps have more of a face-to-face, lifelike conversation through a computer screen. And we organize people around a virtual table. And what's great about it, and it's so simple but so effective, is you can go clockwise and everyone has the same experience. I can just say, hey, you're introducing yourself and there's 8 people around a table. No one has to guess like, well, I don't know who goes next. You just go clockwise because you're having a shared experience. And what makes it shared is the sense of place. And I just think like when we look at the value and the role that place plays for a team, like there's undoubtedly value in a physical office. We believe it because we're making a virtual version of it. We recognize all the benefits of being together, right? There's just huge opportunity cost. And I'd say like our mission is to say remote work as we know it is challenged and troubled because we're taking 2 concepts and saying there's only 2 ends of the spectrum and there's nothing in between. We're saying you come back to the office or you on Zoom all day long. And like those to me are like, it's 2025. We can do better, right? like we can go to the office sometimes and we can go to the virtual office sometimes. And then also we can have some freedom back and go take our kids to school and do the laundry. Like we can do that. And by the way, none of us, not a single one of us, should strap on a headset and believe that this is how we're supposed to exist. That's insanity. Like we need to embrace this, not this.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm hearing you 100%. Erik, thank you so much for joining us on the Design Rush podcast. Appreciated your insights. I just loved unpacking what Katmai is all about. And I appreciate the inclusivity and the power that it brings in thought as well. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was a really wonderful conversation. I appreciate it.
Curious about what top brands look for when choosing an agency? Tune into our latest episodes where we reveal the decision-making secrets of leading brands. Subscribe to the Design Rush podcast and stay ahead of the competition.